The bright morning sunlight poured through the towering glass walls of Hawthorne Medical Center as reporters, lawyers, and corporate executives gathered outside one of the country's most prestigious private hospitals. Inside a luxurious conference room, billionaire CEO Victoria Ashford sat at the head of a polished oak table, determined to finalize one last legal document before undergoing a dangerous experimental heart surgery. Standing quietly across from her was a humble single father named Nathan Brooks, a hospital maintenance contractor who had unknowingly become involved in an accident that had delayed the operation. Furious over the disruption, Victoria ordered her legal team to make Nathan sign a liability waiver before he could leave the building. She coldly insisted that every legal detail be completed immediately, believing he was nothing more than an insignificant working-class man. Nathan calmly accepted the papers without argument. Neither of them realized that one overlooked legal clause buried deep inside those documents would unexpectedly make the struggling single father the sole beneficiary of Victoria's entire estate if the operation failed. By sunset, both their lives would be changed forever. If you believe kindness, forgiveness, and second chances matter more than wealth, please like this video, share it with someone who believes every person deserves respect. Leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise for more emotional stories filled with hope and inspiration. Nathan Brooks had spent the last 3 years raising his 8-year-old daughter, Emma, alone after losing his beloved wife, Rachel, to cancer. Every morning before sunrise, he prepared Emma's breakfast, walked her to school, and then worked long hours maintaining hospitals, schools, and community buildings. Although life was financially difficult, Nathan never complained. He believed his late wife had left him one priceless responsibility: to raise Emma into a compassionate, honest young woman who measured people by their character instead of their bank accounts. Victoria Ashford had built one of the largest healthcare corporations in the nation through remarkable intelligence and relentless determination. Investors admired her discipline, employees respected her leadership, but very few people truly knew her. Years of loneliness and constant business pressures had slowly built invisible walls around her heart. She trusted contracts more than conversations and legal documents more than human intentions. As her rare heart condition worsened, she became even more protective of every decision surrounding her company and fortune. That morning, a maintenance problem temporarily interrupted power to one section of the hospital. Nathan worked quickly to restore every system before surgeons prepared the operating room. Although the issue was resolved within minutes, Victoria's legal advisors insisted every contractor sign additional waivers to protect the hospital from future liability. Irritated and exhausted, Victoria personally demanded Nathan sign immediately. She barely looked at him, assuming he was simply another anonymous worker passing through her expensive world. Nathan quietly signed every page. He never imagined that the legal assistant organizing the paperwork accidentally attached the wrong estate amendment behind the waiver package. Earlier that morning, Victoria had been reviewing revisions to her emergency will before surgery. Because she had no close family and had repeatedly changed beneficiaries over the years, the unfinished amendment remained inside the same folder. When Nathan signed the final page acknowledging receipt of the documents, a critical administrative mistake linked his identity to the unsigned estate. Revision. No one noticed. The documents were sealed. Victoria was immediately taken into surgery. Nathan simply returned to repairing hospital equipment, thinking the strange encounter had ended forever. Hours later, an unexpected complication during the operation sent the entire hospital into panic. Surgeons fought desperately to stabilize Victoria as lawyers quietly prepared emergency legal procedures in case the worst happened. Meanwhile, Nathan sat in the hospital cafeteria helping Emma finish her homework while waiting for his final maintenance inspection. He had no idea that upstairs, one forgotten signature had already placed his name at the center of an unimaginable legal storm. Just before sunset, the lead attorney rushed into the executive conference room carrying the sealed documents. As directors gathered around the table, he opened the emergency estate file, and froze in complete disbelief. Printed clearly on the final amendment was a name no one expected to see. Nathan Brooks, the humble single father who had arrived that morning carrying a toolbox, had somehow become the legal beneficiary of Victoria Ashford's entire estate. The following bright morning, warm sunlight streamed through the executive wing of Hawthorne Medical Center as lawyers, board members, and senior physicians gathered in complete disbelief. Victoria Ashford had survived the dangerous operation, but she remained unconscious in intensive care. While doctors focused on her recovery, the legal department struggled to understand how a simple maintenance contractor had suddenly appeared as the sole beneficiary of one of the country's largest private fortunes. The hospital's chief attorney carefully reviewed every page. Again and again, there was no forged signature, no missing document, no evidence of fraud. The estate amendment had been mistakenly attached to the liability waiver Nathan signed only hours before surgery. Under emergency inheritance law, the executed document temporarily recognized Nathan Brooks as Victoria's legal beneficiary unless the mistake could be corrected after her recovery. The board members immediately panicked. Several executives quietly began discussing lawsuits. Others feared shareholders would lose confidence. Meanwhile, Nathan knew absolutely nothing. He spent the morning repairing air conditioning units before leaving to pick up Emma from school. His biggest concern was helping his daughter prepare for her science project. That afternoon, 2 luxury black cars quietly stopped outside Nathan's modest home. The company's attorneys respectfully knocked on the front door. Nathan invited them inside, apologizing that he had no expensive coffee to offer. Only homemade lemonade. The lawyers explained the unbelievable situation. Nathan stared at them in complete silence. Then he gently shook his head. He told them there had to be some mistake. He had never wanted anyone's money. He had only signed the papers because he believed they were routine hospital documents. The attorneys expected excitement. Instead, they found complete honesty. Nathan immediately agreed to cooperate fully and promised he would sign whatever documents were necessary once Victoria recovered. Not because he feared legal trouble, but because he believed something earned by accident could never truly belong to him. The attorneys left deeply moved. One elderly lawyer quietly admitted he had spent 40 years handling billion-dollar estates. Yet he had never met someone offered unimaginable wealth who tried so sincerely to give it back. Days later, Victoria finally regained consciousness. Still weak from surgery, she asked for an update on her company. The board reluctantly explained the legal mistake. She immediately demanded to meet Nathan. Expecting to find someone eager to claim her fortune, Victoria prepared herself for another painful disappointment. Instead, Nathan walked into her hospital room carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers picked by Emma. His daughter shyly handed them to Victoria and whispered that flowers always helped her mother smile when she had been sick. For the first time in many years, Victoria's eyes filled with tears. Nathan calmly placed every legal document on the bedside table. Without reading a single page, he pushed them gently toward her. He quietly said that her life was worth far more than any inheritance. He only wanted her to recover safely. Victoria looked at the humble single father in complete disbelief. Every wealthy executive she had trusted had immediately asked about contracts. The poorest man she had met was the only one who cared whether she lived. At that very moment, something inside Victoria began to change forever. The warm morning sunlight filled the beautiful garden outside Hawthorne Medical Center as Victoria Ashford took her first steps after weeks of recovery. Doctors smiled as she slowly walked beneath the flowering trees, grateful to be alive after surviving the operation that had nearly ended her life. Standing a short distance away were Nathan Brooks and little Emma, who had brought her a handmade, "Get well soon" card decorated with colorful hearts and flowers. Victoria held the drawing tightly, realizing that the simplest gift she had received during her recovery meant more than all the expensive presents sent by powerful business partners. Within days, the legal mistake was officially corrected. Nathan voluntarily signed every document returning full ownership of Victoria's estate. He accepted nothing, not a single dollar. The attorneys watched in complete silence as one of the largest inheritances in the country passed back to its rightful owner without a single argument. When everything was finished, Nathan quietly thanked everyone and prepared to leave with Emma. Victoria stopped him. She gently asked one question. "Why?" Nathan smiled softly. He explained that his late wife had once told him something he never forgot. "If money ever becomes more important than your conscience, you've already become poor." Those simple words echoed through the silent conference room. Even the board members lowered their eyes. Victoria realized that although she possessed extraordinary wealth, Nathan possessed something far rarer: peace. Over the following months, Victoria made dramatic changes inside her company. Executive bonuses were reduced. Employee healthcare programs expanded. Scholarships were created for workers' children. Maintenance staff, cleaners, cafeteria employees, and security guards were invited to monthly leadership meetings so their voices could finally be heard. She admitted publicly that the greatest lesson of her career had come from a humble single father carrying a toolbox. Nathan continued living exactly as before. He repaired buildings during the day, helped Emma with homework every evening, and visited Rachel's grave every Sunday morning. His life remained simple, but it was rich with love. One sunny afternoon, Victoria surprised Nathan by visiting his small home. Not with lawyers, not with reporters, just herself. She handed him a sealed envelope. Inside was not an inheritance. It was an offer. She asked Nathan to become the company's director of community values, helping build programs that supported struggling families, single parents, and employees facing difficult times. Nathan accepted, not because of the salary, but because it gave him the chance to help others the same way people had once helped his own family. Years later, Hawthorne Healthcare became nationally recognized as one of the most compassionate companies in the country. Business magazines praised its success. Employees praised something far more important: its humanity. Whenever journalists asked Victoria what transformed her leadership, she always smiled and pointed toward a framed photograph hanging in her office. The picture showed an old maintenance worker holding his daughter's hand. Beneath it hung a small plaque: "Character is the greatest inheritance anyone can leave behind." If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes honesty is worth more than fortune. Leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise for more emotional stories about hope, humility, and second chances. Special request: please comment, integrity is worth more than millions. As the golden afternoon sunlight reflected across the hospital gardens, Victoria watched Nathan and Emma walk toward their old pickup truck. She smiled quietly, because the richest person she had ever met was never the one who owned the biggest fortune. It was the humble father who willingly gave it all back.